Namaskar. Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, India's fourth best university, declared by Ministry of Human Resources Development under National Institutional Ranking Framework 2020. Education is not complete unless we practice certain values, culture, ethics, discipline, respect, and many more. We in Amrita believe in the philosophy of imparting value-based education. It is not out of place for us to mention that the students gaining knowledge and skills have initiated projects across the country and internationally for solving many problems. And one such is live-in labs. A live-in lab is an initiative of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, wherein our students go to villages, stay in villages, move with villagers, understand their problems on their daily life, and then come back to the village with a solution which would make our villagers smile for the rest of their life. COVID-19 has changed the teaching and learning process, and Amrita is bridging the gap between the technology and humanity. Technology is going to remain for the rest of any number of centuries, and the future of our children seems to be volatile, uncertain, and unpredictable. Though the technology is going to roost in the future years to come, we felt from Amrita, let us introduce a video for those aspiring engineers and scientists to know what is what about different disciplines in the field of engineering, so that they could choose the right discipline to be successful in their career and in their life. Yes, Amrita believes in imparting the most required 21st century skills: collaboration, communication, creativity. And these skills are going to help our students to build a better nation for tomorrow. With regard to artificial intelligence, we have here with us Dr. R. Prasanna Kumar, Assistant Professor, Selection Grade, Department of Computer Science Engineering, specialized in artificial intelligence from Amrita School of Engineering, Chennai. Welcome to you, Doctor.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us, and this talk is going to help you all to know what is AI, to know what is machine learning, what is deep learning. So thank you once again, Doctor, for being with us, and let's begin our talk with a brief introduction about yourself as to what really made you an engineer, what really triggered so that you became an engineer, and secondly, your journey as an engineer in the field of teaching engineering to the students. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm Dr. Prasanna Kumar Rangarajan. So I'm in this teaching field for over 20 years. So as far as the question regarding why I choose for engineering, my passion towards mathematics actually that triggered me to be an engineer, and my love over logic thinking and my confidence over that reasoning made me to choose computer science and engineering in my undergraduate And I did my post-graduation and as well as my doctorate in computer science and engineering related disciplines. So coming to the teaching profession, actually my grandfather and father are teachers, and our Indian society gives much importance to teachers. There's a saying like Mata, Pita, Guru and Devam. So God is placed after God, after teacher. So I opted for this particular profession.
Doctor, we hear artificial intelligence, right? Which is of course into robotics, and then we hear part of artificial intelligence is machine learning, and part of machine learning we hear about deep learning. Now, what is all this artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning? Just brief on that for our students to understand differentiation in all these three.
Yeah, it's
in a layman's language, not on a technical part, because we're going to listen to us all from school students. So on a lighter, on a smaller sort of a brief on this. Over to you.
Okay, it's a very good question actually. See, artificial intelligence is nothing but making the machines intelligent. See, we human beings are naturally intelligent. We have special cognitive skills, whereas it's absent in the machines. So people are trying to make machines to learn themselves. So artificial intelligence actually is trying to make the machines smarter, the machines to think and to act logically. So coming to the machine learning process, actually it has its application in various domains. To put it in a simple terms, let's go back to Google, which we were discussing some time before. So Google uses artificial intelligence in all its applications. For example, if you just try to send a mail using Gmail, if you type dear, and if you have a sender, it will automatically say that name. For example, if you want to send to a person by name Amrita, it will say dear Amrita. If you just type dear, Amrita will come on its own. So this is what we call it as machine learning, where we try to make the machines intelligent. So this is not a new concept. Actually, it started in the early 70s. But why this is a sudden boom? The thing is, at that time, hardware was not up to the mark, in the sense the growth of hardware was very much limited, and we had only the central processing units. But with the advent of GPUs, the graphical processing units, which makes mundane tasks like whatever task we want to perform repeatedly, so we have the necessary hardware infrastructure now, which makes artificial intelligence really a good scope for further research and as well as for industrial applications. See, artificial intelligence actually tries to give to the society whatever man has been degrading for decades. So for example, in this COVID times, actually drug design. Why? Because we need some drug to be designed so that some vaccine can be provided to this people across the globe. It's a pandemic situation. So artificial intelligence, it played a major role here, where many companies, they used artificial intelligence, particularly machine learning, to initially to decide what is the how the virus works and how to combat it, etc. So this is one classic example of our day-to-day situation, particularly in this pandemic period.
Dr. PK, you'll agree with me with the fact that the strength of any department lies or depends on the ability, potential of the faculties. In fact, faculties with research experiences, faculty with corporate background. I would like you to tell the viewers as to how strong are your faculties with regard to CSAI Department of Amada School of Engineering, Chennai. Over to you, Doctor.
Actually, as you said correctly, the pillars of any institution is the faculty who teaches to the students as well as who do some useful research. So, as far as Amrita Chennai is concerned, we select the faculty members who have enough research experience, and particularly coming to the Department of Artificial Intelligence. So, we have very good faculties who have completed their doctorates from leading universities in India, and few are having their research experience in the form of post-doctorates in foreign universities too.
Dr. PK, taking on from the strength of your faculties in your department, Let me move on to the next important clarification that we seek from you is about the type of internship and type of projects that you'd like to carry out for your students when they come into the third year or between third year and the fourth year. Could you just brief as to how you plan to have those internships? Why I'm asking this question in many cases, like if you look at the other three campuses, Ahmedabad School of Engineering in Coimbatore, Bangalore, as well as in Amrapuri, so much of importance is given to projects and internship. And I find that students who perform well during the internship with major companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Flipkarts, and even Indian companies like TCS, Infosys, the better they perform, there is always a chance of you getting absorbed or getting placed by the same software company where you've done your internship. So under these circumstances, what are your plans of internship and projects for your department at Ahmedabad School of Engineering, Chennai? Over to you, Tom.
Yes, sir. Actually, engineering is all about doing things. It's not like reading something and just vomiting whatever they have read. So we give our students the liberty to test and train with various projects. Example is that our first year student has done a project based on AR and VR. So it was for helping the physically challenged, particularly the blind people. So they use a walking stick. So instead of using that, if they wear a glass, so the blind people will be getting information about what are the objects that are near to them, how they can proceed further,
Yes.
and in what direction they can move, everything. So this is a very small sample of what our students have done. Also, other projects like e-commerce, that's particularly based on artificial intelligence, where we can avoid certain security threats by using AI. So our students have developed a project on that. And coming to the internships, actually, as you correctly said, internship plays a crucial role in any engineering student's life. So it gives them an opportunity to get into a company where they do some summer internship. So we are actually having some plans and we are going to have some MOUs with leading companies like Microsoft, which is based in Bangalore, and Sony Ericsson Research, etc., where they are investing heavily on artificial intelligence. So we are going to have some interaction with those people and also make our students to present their projects through online virtual mode, or otherwise we'll invite some guests to our campus, so that by seeing the projects what our students are doing now, they may observe our students for summer internships.
Dr. PK, when you mentioned some names like Sony Ericsson, you have mentioned something to do with major companies like Microsoft, the world's #1 software company. Now, because what I understand from the type of technology changes that is taking place, it is very, very fast. The pace of change is very fast. And I was told that by the time what you teach, by the time you teach, like for example, about a particular subject in the third semester, when the student moves to the fourth semester, the topic becomes redundant. It changes, it's actually becomes a waste, because by the time he gets into the fourth semester, what you taught them in the third semester goes for a big 6. So under these circumstances, Doctor, how do you actually get yourself connected to those major corporates in software industry, so that you can tailor-make students to the requirement of the industry? Right? You can't just teach what you know, right? That is not that cannot be the future teaching and learning process. You need to prepare your students based on the requirement of the industry. So what is the type of industry connect that you're planning from your artificial intelligence department to whatever is it? Because you are based out of Chennai, you have that special advantage of having those major software companies in Chennai. So any plans on that particular question that I was asking you about?
Hey sir, actually it's a wonderful question. The phase in which artificial intelligence is changing really is in a fast manner. For example, 2019, in terms of US dollars, the investment made by FANG companies, that is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft and Google, was something around 49 billion US dollars. Whereas it's projected the annual compounded growth rate of artificial intelligence investment will be around 42% every year. So up to the year of 2027. So the projection is really huge. 42% growth in any sector over a period of very small period, that within a decade, maybe 5 or 6 years is a tremendous thing. And coming to the curriculum, actually artificial intelligence makes, as you told, the technology obsoleteness is there. So whatever we teach in the third semester will become obsolete in the fourth semester, something like that.
So just to interrupt, I mean, what is the content of that artificial intelligence? Like, what is that? I mean, you can just have a brief before you get into the next topic on the industry connect. So what exactly happens in the second year, third year, fourth year? Could you be able to tell us?
Yes.
Just a run through case, not just elaborate one, just a run through case.
Yes. So actually, in order to avoid that obsoleteness, our curriculum is based, or we have devised a curriculum like in the third year when the student enters into his fifth semester. They'll be split into some 3 pools where we'll be teaching to the students like AI in healthcare. So we have some good subjects like gene decoding. We have bioinformatics there. And the second part is that we concentrate on AI in cybersecurity, where we'll be teaching to the students about applied cryptography. We'll be teaching about distributed system security, and of course cyber forensics in cybersecurity. We incorporated the latest technologies. And also there's a third important thing, that is AI in robotics. So everyone is talking about autonomous cars now. So autonomous cars is a very big project, but within itself, it has n number of small problems to be solved. For example, automated car parking. See, autonomous vehicle involves that also, and I think in most of the high-end cars that's available now. So instead of just taking as the whole picture, we have decided to split the problems into smaller ones, so that wherever feasible, our students will be trained in that with a practical exposure. So which will make our students stand apart when compared with other universities. So this pooling like AI in healthcare, AI in cybersecurity, and AI in robotics will enable the students to be on par with the industry. So an undergraduate course actually will be having a bird's eye view in depth. That is that's actually a mix of this thing. Why? Because they'll be undergoing many courses. So they'll be undergoing almost some 12 to 14 courses per year, split across 7 per semester. So which makes the students to be aware of all the fundamentals. So once the fundamentals are taught, we have planned all the fundamentals in the first 4 semesters, and from the 5th semester, they will be undergoing courses which are currently carried out by the industry. And also, we have the liberty to amend our curriculum. We don't have a very rigid structure like once in a 4 year only we will be revising the curriculum. It's not like that. Amrita has that particular liberty, so we can amend the curriculum. For example, I can say that cloud computing is an emerging area in which the syllabus has been amended 3 times within a short period of 1.5 years.
Yes.
So it's happening here. And so I'm sure that our students will be imported with the latest trends and not with subjects which the faculty knows. So the faculty are also getting updated by constantly in touch with the industry people. So our faculty go there, and we have some online webinars conducted by the industry people also, so that we are not technically backward, but we are on par with the industry.
Dr. PK, when you mentioned about AI with healthcare, AI with robotics, AI with cybersecurity, all these need excellent lab facilities, right? I mean, you can't learn about robotic without a proper robotic lab. So could you throw some light again on the facilities in terms of labs that you have for your department?
Yes, actually, as I said before in the starting of this interview, it needs a great amount of hardware, because we need certain tasks to be performed n number of times within a short period of time. So we have a very good laboratory. We have NVIDIA GPU-based high-performance computing lab, which will enable the students, particularly in healthcare, bioinformatics and all. It needs a lot of computation power. So we have a very good laboratory for that, where our students can make use of that. And coming to the robotics in particular, So robotics actually, we start with a basic course on building a drone. Okay. Even we can say that the drone is a robo. It's a mini robo where it can do it can transfer some object from one place to another.
Yes.
I think people are using that for.
In fact, we have seen it recently under COVID-19 situation where the police used to use it, to
yes,
see whether people are getting accumulated.
Yeah, it's somewhat it's an artificially intelligent machine where it will throw some insights about that. So we start with the basics of drone building in the first semester of the course, and we further proceed. So that the student, we teach kinematics to them, which is very important for robotics. And we end up in a course called as robotics vision, where how the robo will see things just like a human perspective. See, object identification is itself a very big task some 5 or 6 years back, but now it's a very simple task. Like we have video surveillances where the system automatically survives that. So robotics are also used nowadays. Why? Because I cannot keep a camera in a standard place. We can keep on moving in a crowd so that we can identify some people and all. And we have excellent laboratories for that.
Dr. PK, you'll agree with the fact that in the next 10 years' time, 45 to 50% of the existing job, I believe, will vanish. People will become jobless. That's number one. Number two, I also heard that there will be some new opportunities which will arise. And that may not be the existing types of jobs. Jobs like bionic engineers, jobs like AR, VR specialist, jobs like space technologist, jobs like robotic engineers. And if this is going to happen, what do you think would be the future? You agree with that, first of all, is my question. And if you don't agree, it's okay. But if you agree, which other jobs will go and which other new opportunities will come? And what would be the total outlook of this AI in the next 10 years? Over to you, Doctor.
Yes, sir. Just before going into the future, what I'd like to express here is, once there was a company called as Kodak, which was manufacturing photofilms.
I understand.
Now, no one is using photofilms nowadays. We have a very small SD card where you can store up to some gigabytes of memory nowadays. So, it does not mean that people employed in that particular industry are jobless now. So, they have been replaced with some other task. And another example which I just wanted to quote is about the banking industry. So, just if you walk into a bank, if you would have walked into a bank some 20 years back, there will be huge lectures where...
Today we don't go into the bank.
Yeah, now actually huge lectures will be there where debit, credit, they will be writing, they will be calculating.
Railway reservations, you have to stand in long queues.
Yeah, so it does not mean that the railway employees are unemployed now. The way they work now has changed. Okay, so they do it in a more smarter way nowadays. Why? Because we have a huge explosion of population. And let's take for the banking. There's no need for to personally contact any banking employee now. But employees are there in the bank. They have their own work. You can see that still now some banks employees, they work up to some 11:30 p.m. of the night doing some work. So it's not that computers or artificial intelligence will totally take away all the jobs. But actually, the jobs that we do now will change. Almost, as you said, 50% of the jobs that we are performing now will be altered.
One more is that fast tag. Like today, you don't, but still, have they lost jobs? I mean, those guys used to give us those tolls when you cross those
borders.
Of
course, that's another example.
They're not lost jobs.
They still are there.
Absolutely.
It should be there. Human intervention is required at certain places.
I know.
Why? Because even though machines are...
They may not punch and give you this one.
Yeah. But sometimes manual intervention is required at all the places.
You are very positive in outlook.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Sometimes it's very...
So, it's not that jobs will be taken away. Okay. Even another example, I think if you go for any marriage function, usually a videographer will be there taking some photographs. Now they use drone technology.
Yes.
Yeah, they use drone for, So it does not mean that the photographer's job has been replaced with a machine. A machine is there. It assists in smarter living. Let's consider, for example, one of my students has done a project on smart dustbins.
Okay.
So, what was the concept is that there will be a dustbin at a particular location and there will be a sensor placed at a 70% position. If the dustbin gets filled up to 70% and above that, the particular person who is in charge will get a message that this particular bin has filled, that you have to clean it up. So it does not mean that it's taking away a job.
Dr. PK, we all know, after you complete your mechanical engineering, after you complete your civil, EC, triple E, yes, which other companies would come, core companies and IT companies, we all know. Now, AI is a specialized terminology which has been hitting the world of IT industry for the last maybe 20-25 years. Our students would like to know as to what type of jobs that they can expect by completing CS with AI in the next 3-4 years. Number two, what would be the starting salary of an AI specialist? And what would be the type of companies, right? Are we all looking at major companies, or are we all looking at a medium or a small scale companies that we are looking for? So if you can throw some light on the placement opportunities for the AI students, it would be a great help, Doctor. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, as far as the job prospectus of an artificial intelligence student is concerned, our curriculum, particularly Amrita's curriculum, it does not touch the core concepts of computing, like databases, data structures, compilers, theory of automata theory and all. So the basic courses are intact. So our students can get placed in companies which do core computing. Coming to this artificial intelligence, actually, artificial intelligence is a mix of all disciplines. Like, we need electrical engineering there, we need mechanical engineering. For example, if you want to have autonomous vehicles, it's a mix of electronics, electrical.
It's all interdisciplinary.
Yeah, it's
right?
interdisciplinary.
Yeah, I know. Even for a robotic,
yes,
there should be a mechanical engineer to design.
Design, yes, of course.
If you want each of the part of the robotic to move, there should be a ECE, you know,
Yes,
there should be a
the
communication going
electronic
on.
components, yes.
And if you have to look at the temperature which the robotic can take, you need to have a chemical
A sensor
engineer. Yeah,
should be
yeah,
there.
correct.
Yes.
So, and if you need to have the intelligence put in, there must be a computer science
Yeah, to
engineer.
code
So,
something.
absolutely. So, it is all interlinked. I agree with
Yeah.
you. Yes, you were saying
So,
something, but I interrupted. Yeah.
Talking about the job opportunities, our students can get into health sector, particularly like bioinformatics. They can They can go for DNA sequencing, genomics. They are having a course on genomics, so they can go for some pharma companies also where they are involved in drug design. See, artificial intelligence students are employable in banking industry, automotive industry, retail, finance, manufacturing, everywhere. Why? Because financial frauds are happening. So
Very
it
true.
needs, with such a huge population, manually we cannot trace anything. So we need some automation to be done. So I hope the artificial intelligence students will be helping the society in such aspects. Even we go for clean air by using artificial intelligence techniques. We are trying to provide a safe environment to the people.
Doctor, when I have to ask you after I complete my CS with AI and want to go for higher studies, what are the specializations that one could pick up?
Yeah, actually it's a very good, interesting question. And we know that Amrita has very good university types with Italian universities, US universities and across the globe. So when going for higher study, they can either opt for their post-graduation or they can go for their doctoral research. So as far as post-graduation is concerned, many universities, the top 10 universities, maybe MIT, Harvard or Cambridge, they offer courses on artificial intelligence with the specialization.
Okay.
They have like robotics vision, they have natural language processing. I think we are using Siri from Apple and we are using Amazon Echo and all, right? So actually coming to this particular higher studies is concerned, they have specialized courses, as I said earlier, with respect to computer vision, with respect to natural language processing, and with respect to machine learning, deep learning. And one interesting thing is the entertainment industry, where a huge amount of vacancy exists. You can see any movies nowadays, it uses artificial intelligence. Okay, why? Because things are changing now, and for example, in India, we cannot use an animal for shooting.
Yes,
now.
yes.
So we need something, some machines to be there, and we use that. So our students have got very good opportunities for doing their post-graduation in a very diversified area of artificial intelligence in India as well as abroad.
Doctor, now having spoke about artificial intelligence, as a student of 12th standard, I come to you, doctor, and ask you, is there any special aptitude that I need to develop to learn artificial intelligence so that I can be a successful artificial intelligence expert in the future? Because, like for a mechanical engineer, you know what talent he must have. He must be into designing, he must be into creativity, he must be into critical thinking, even for computer science or even for the other engineering disciplines. But is there anything which you feel that you should tell us that to be an AI, what should I in myself develop? Maybe on algorithms, maybe on those mathematical terminologies. Because once I pick up AI, I should not find it difficult to complete my course. Because if you say too much of mathematics and if I'm weak in mathematics, I'll opt for something else. That is what my question is all about. Because as you rightly, or most of us say that if there's a passion towards a particular, we can go ahead. But passion with some knowledge on what is specially required. Is there anything, some special requirement that I want you to tell us? Because you've been an expert in AI. I thought I'll put this question across to you to get the right answer from the horse mouth. Over to you, doctor.
Yes, sir. Actually, it does not require any special talents at all. The only thing required is the passion to learn. If they have the passion to learn, AI is really a wonderful chance. Initially, actually, people were working with computers whose size was very huge, very huge. Yeah. But nowadays, a mobile phone can perform all the operations that can be performed using a desktop or a laptop.
Absolutely.
So there are n number of automated tools available nowadays, which can make students feel comfortable in learning.
Absolutely.
So it's not like a student should be very strong in programming or he should have some computing knowledge earlier. It's not required. The only thing required is that some basic knowledge on mathematics at the level of higher secondary, and then the passion to learn. If they have that, I think we can make it up. It's not so tough. It does not mean that it's just like a cakewalk. They have to work. If they work, if anything is achievable.
Yeah, Dr. PK, from your end, now being an AI specialist, it's very easy to say that it's not easy, but then, as you rightly said, we need to really work hard to complete your 4 years of engineering. So we have here with Dr. Prasanna Kumar, Assistant Professor of Selection Grade from the Department of Computer Science Engineering, Amada School of Engineering, Chennai. And I'm confident with the fact that the students who will be watching this video would benefit a lot in choosing their career on AI in the future. To be happy, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.